There are some projects you end up having on the back burner for way too long, and this for me is definitely one of them. Welcome back to Mechanic Air. What I have here on the bench today is my Crosman 600, an air pistol I've owned for quite a number of years. And it's sad to say I've only ever seen it shooting just the once. Years ago, took it apart, cleaned everything, put it all back together again, and discovered the joys of a blowback-operated 22 semi-auto that actually shoots pellets, not BBs. Quite an amazing feat for its era. But I only fired it the once, and then after that it started leaking. And so I bought a seal kit and took it apart again and put all the various O-rings into it, and it still leaked. And I've even bought another seal kit. I think I've got another one here someplace. All ready to go. Yeah, another set of seals. But I haven't installed them because I think I've discovered that the problem is not the O-rings, it is actually the valve seat itself. I'm pretty sure that's what the problem is, where the valve stem has to seal off against the seat in the brass valve, and it's leaking. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but it's been quite some time since I've had this thing apart, so I'm going to pull it apart, get the valve out of it, and just double check all that, and then see what parts are available. So the O-ring seals, that's not a big deal. People can supply those. That valve seat, though, is no longer a Crosman available part, so I have to see what cleverness we can come across, or if there is actually a part available, so from somebody. Anyway, let's pull it apart and find out what we can. I have to remember here that this is not actually a screw that holds the back end. It's just a pin that you drive out from the top. That little recess in there is actually just to hold the spring for the rear sight. It's been a long time since I've had this gun apart, so it takes a while to remember how it all comes apart again. That's the recoil spring for the hammer that goes forward, hits the valve, and then is pushed back again by the blowback mechanism. The piece here I'm just going to call a shuttle that basically scoops a pellet out of the magazine and pushes it in front of the barrel. That little piece has two grub screws holding it in place, so you take one out, you wonder why it won't move. Well, there's another one hidden in behind it. This trigger mechanism, I can assure you I have photographed to remember where all these pieces go. I think there are machine guns that are actually less complicated than this trigger mechanism. That piece will not come out until the valve is pushed backwards. Nope, it's not going to come out until I get that second grub screw out. It's not coming out. Barrel comes out nice and easily in these guns and can only go back in the one way, so no worries there. Still trying to remember how to get that out. Yep, take out the second grub screw. This little hole there isn't in some of the guns, but apparently it's there to help get the CO2 cylinder out in case it gets stuck. Yeah, I have had them a little bit sticky, I'll give you that. There is a piece I'm calling the banjo bolt. I don't know exactly what the name they put on the diagram. I should probably remind myself, but it's a very interesting figure of 8 piece that oh yeah, I'm doing this wrong. Doing this wrong. The valve mechanism does not come out the front of the gun, even though it will move a little bit. You have to drive it backwards. And in my frustration, I forgot to put the camera on. So the next chapter in this struggle with our Crosman 600 is to remove the valve completely out of this, out of the main tube, and everything is out of the way except this one little piece here, which is originally ground flush with the body, and it's kind of hard to see that this actually does come out. I'm going to put a little threaded screw in there a little bit and wriggle it, and as I recall, this piece will pop out of the gun. Maybe. There we go. It's out. Well, I'll keep that together nice and safe for when I need to put it back in again. As you can see, it's just a little metal sleeve that goes up into the brass body of the valve and keeps the two pieces together. So now the question comes, which way do you drive it out, front or back? Let me see if I can push it out the front. Use some wooden dowel here. Nope, wait. The second one, I forgot. There's 2 of these. That's easy enough, okay. Now hopefully it should move without too much stress. There we go. The valve's in 2 pieces. This is the front part that just basically contains the CO2. This is the later version of the gun where the cartridge goes in and pierces against the valve. It's backwards from the earlier guns where the earlier style Crosmans where you put the CO2 in and you punctured at this end. And then it would flood the whole tube. This one, of course, can't possibly work that way because there's a hole in the tube and that gas would leak out of there. So, nope, it seals up tight against here, and hopefully I have parts for all this. Actually, I know I have parts for all this. I ordered them. I got them. So, now I just need to get the valve out. Use a slightly longer dowel. It can go up alongside the hammer there. Yeah, this is maybe too long. There we go. Okay, so here is all our wonderful trouble spots. So the plan is to rebuild all this. You can get the O-ring kits, no problem at all. The problem is the valve stem itself. That's been the bugaboo with this gun. It's been leaking, hasn't been properly sealing at the valve seat. So anyway, after all these years, I've finally been able to get a replacement one. So the clever thing about this gun is it leaks gas in both directions. You've got an exhaust valve here, so when the valve is hit by the hammer, which is this little assembly right here, hits it, knocks the valve open, gas goes out, up into the barrel, and pushes the pellet out. But there's also a little exhaust valve right there, and that is what pushes the hammer, slams it back again, recocks the gun, and reloads a fresh pellet. It's wonderfully complex and obviously prone to issues, so these guns aren't the easiest things to keep going. So, as I said, I've only ever seen this one working just the once, so and then it promptly failed, so just old age. But anyhow, I'll get the kit out and see what things we can replace on this. So this is my Crosman 600 repair kit as provided by Henry Ford, who goes under the website is Crosman 600repair.com. So I'm not affiliated with them in any way, or had bought this kit, no problem at all, and very happy that there's companies out there still looking to keep vintage air guns like this going. For those of us who really do appreciate them. There's a bit of flashing on this valve stem here. But this is the magic piece that I really need. There's a spring inside there that pushes it back there. This is the sealing side that does need to seat against the valve seat once we get it apart. That's the critical piece, and that's the part that is leaking air. At least has been leaking air in the past. So what have I all got here? Well, this obviously belongs to this, maybe? No. This is this one here. Okay. There is a mesh in there. That one is way too large, so I'm not sure if there's one in here or not. Okay. That is to replace this mangled piece right here. This one was in better shape, but just got damaged after numerous attempts to try to take it apart and figure out what was going wrong with the gun. So that's your transfer port seal. That belongs in there. That belongs in there. And there's a couple of pieces in here as well. So next step, I'm going to pull it all apart and see what I can do. It's a little tricky trying to get the valve body lined up with the correct holes in it. You slide it and you think you got it right, and then by the time it ends up halfway down the tube, it's twisted around a bit. And you don't want to damage anything. It is soft brass after all. Then you've got Crosman's rather ingenious little two steel washers that basically lock the valve into the steel tube. Pound them down nice and flush. And then the valve is held in perfect position. And you hope you did everything right, because it's a real pain to take everything apart to get back to this place again. And again, this is the second variant of the Crosman 600, so it doesn't pierce the CO2 cartridge from the front of the gun, but rather in the middle, like you'll see on a lot more common designs later on. But the earlier guns had a piercing mechanism, a lot like the Crosman Mark I has on the oh dear, what have I done now? This O-ring will not go over that. Which means that white one should have gone where I put the black one. So my first instinct was right. So I had to take the valve all out again and put the O-rings in their correct places. Yeah, that one does fit over there, doesn't it? So the valve mechanism goes back into the tube. Went a little quicker this time though. Then we line up those two little alignment holes again and put the two little steel pieces in there that hold the valve precisely where it belongs. And one interesting quirk of this design is that that little piece of the trigger mechanism has to be in place as you slide the tube in, and it just, the last few millimeters of movement is what locks that piece in place. If you forget to put it in, you got to take it back out again, etc., etc. In an instance, we're now, of course, remembering where all those little trigger pieces have to go. And if I don't remember, well, I do have a photograph somewhere. I know exactly where this little spring has to go, but boy, making it go there is not easy. There it is. This part here is not only the hammer that strikes the valve, but also the blowback mechanism. Most of the gas, I guess, is designed to blast down the barrel and send out the pellet, but another part of the valve directs gas into this little cavity right here, which requires an O-ring to help keep it well sealed. And that little jet of gas pushes the hammer right back, and it catches back on the sear again, and it also moves that little figure-8 piece around to move the shuttle across and pick up the next pellet. After trying to test the gun, I discovered that yeah, the pellet is not being picked up properly by the little shuttle. It's not quite at the right angle. And on this particular gun, what that means is that little figure-8 banjo bolt piece, as I call it, is flipped around the wrong way. And the only way to do this is now to take apart all the various side parts of the gun, pull out the rod that basically twists around that little figure-8 piece, and reach inside there and flip the piece around. It doesn't actually have to come out. Once you get the thing in sideways, you can flip it around and push it back down again, making sure it's the other way around. And after I got this sorted out, it seemed to be picking up pellets a lot better. Okay, so it's all back together. I got the banjo bolt thing flipped around the correct way. It's very hard to tell which is the correct orientation, but when it's right, the little shuttle that feeds the pellets in has to line up just right there, and then when it fires, lines up with the barrel. And if it's flipped the wrong way around, it won't do that. And as for pellets, well, I do have some Crosman Super Pels, but they don't seem to want to work in this. They're just very old stock. So what I have found is pretty much the closest approximation for length is these RWS Meisterkugels, which are available in 22. There aren't that many 22 wad cutters available, but these ones are a good fit for this for the shuttle, because it has to match exactly that depth there. Otherwise, one pellet will stick in behind the other. Like if the pellet was pointed, or domed, it would stick into the back of the pellet in front of it, and it wouldn't move. So anyway, the gun's gassed up. I don't hear any hissing or leaking from it, which is actually kind of cool, because that That's the first time in forever that it hasn't done that. I've got the chronograph running. I'm going to see if I can get just a few shots over it and see what happens. Okay. .248. That's definitely low, isn't it? 256. 215. So, no speed demon there, that's for sure. Let's try a couple more. First time I've ever seen this gun shoot in properly in like 20 years, I think. So, thanks to Henry Ford for being able to supply parts for these things. That's awesome that these things are still around. Okay, I'll load. See if I can get 5 in here. See what happens there. Five pellets. Let's give it a shot. It will hold 10, but I'm not going to try to get too excited about that. Anyway, here we go. .176. Wow, that's really low, isn't it? Didn't recock properly. Might be with so much oil lubrication. I dribbled some automatic transmission sealer in there, try to stop it from leaking. Not sure why it was leaking, considering it's all new seals and everything, but it was. Full auto burp there. Didn't eject a single pellet though. And the pellet is jammed. Okay, we'll have to clear that. Well, that reading I got at 176, bit of an anomaly because the pellet never actually left the gun, so I'm not sure what it was reading. Blast of air? Not a clue. So these Meisterkugels, so the closest fit that I found, but they're probably less than perfect. But because every now and again, I guess it will jam. Okay, gun is cocked. So we can get a few more shots here. Let's take the safety off. .278. 242. 245. 2 shots there, and I guess the second one, blast of air, must have tripped the chrono. But not breaking 300 feet per second. Bit of a surprise, I suppose, considering these pistols were considered powerful. But that was also in an era before anybody had affordable chronographs kicking around. So no doubt they did cook out a bit more power than this back in the day. But this one for now is what it's doing. And keep in mind that with every time you pull the trigger, you're not only propelling a pellet down the barrel, but you're also running the blowback action as well. So, you know, it's not going to be as efficient as, say, a Crosman Mark I that uses its power just to push the pellet out. So, but very fun pistol in a lot of ways, very groundbreaking. I said it was one of the first blowback guns conceived, and yeah, and lovely made, incredibly complicated, nightmare to work on, but anyway, it's very cool to see this thing working again after all these years. So I took the Crosman 600 out to the range, and I have to say my marksmanship was pretty much, well, distracted by would the gun actually work or not, because it hasn't been very reliable. Also, you can hear perhaps on the camera just a slight hiss from it. It is leaking just a little bit again.
Not really sure why, but not sure where it's coming from. I think it's coming from the the valve seat area again. And trouble with this gun is that if you want to fix that, you have to take it all apart. So while the chances of getting 10 shots off in a row don't look good, at least I'm able to shoot this thing again and remember what it was about this amazing little gun. So I do have 6 shots on target here. Again, not really a great group, but I wasn't really paying much attention to it. I was just trying to get the thing to cycle properly. So, but this does stand as a very technologically advanced air pistol for its time. Crosman was clearly trying to move up market with products like this starting in 1960. It only had a 10-year lifespan, probably because it obviously is a problematic gun. I think that there would have been a lot of repairs, a lot of them would have left the production line not quite as reliable as others. So whether this one was really a great example or not, I don't know. I've only seen it shoot through 10 shots once, and that was a long time ago. And again, trying to find a pellet that suits it properly. Not sure what that would be. I hear the RWS hobbies aren't that bad either, so if I have a tin of 22 or around somewhere, I might give them a try. And getting another look at that valve to see why it is losing a little bit of gas. I do notice some gas blowing out the top of it too, as I looked at the chronograph shots. So I'll have to take another look at that at some point. But anyway, thanks for watching. Kanaka will return with more fun things, I promise. Consider subscribing.